Kingdom
live.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni. It's Mahomes' house. Arrowhead my ass. You gotta fight for your right to party.
I fucking love that intro.
It didn't say we're live on my screen. Are we live?
Yeah, we're good. We're live.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
good.
Howdy, Chiefs Kingdom. It's Wednesday. It's 7 o'clock. You're tuned into Chiefs Kingdom Live. Appreciate everybody jumping in. If you haven't clicked like, click subscribe, tell a friend, tell a family member, tell your dentist, spread the word. We'd appreciate it.
4 out of 5 dentists recommend Chiefs Kingdom Live, actually. That's so weird.
4 out of 5.
That the boat just made up.
Right. And we only paid 3 of the 4 to say that. So we're doing pretty good. Chiefs are wheeling and dealing. Free agency officially started a few hours ago, but they've got the weird legal tampering. That the whole legal tampering to me, that's like an oxymoron, right? It's like legal speeding. Like I don't know, but you see these deals are getting leaked out, and the Chiefs were adding some guys and making some moves early. We'll get to that. Got some guys also, some familiar, friendly faces leaving Chiefs Kingdom for possibly greener pastures. We'll talk about that too. Fellas, how are we doing tonight, Bo?
Doing good, man. Yeah, like just surprised at some of the moves that have been made. I was like, I turned on the news today and just, hey, we're in the news. And yeah, but no surprise at what we're actually doing. We kind of talked about it last week, and it's kind of right on track with what I was hoping for. So, hey, no complaints on this end. Nick, how you doing today, man?
Good, man. I'm getting pumped to go to Vegas.
Yeah.
Be in Vegas next week, hanging out with Bo. So,
yeah, out there in the desert, out there in Las Vegas, going to be representing the Chiefs Kingdom big time out there. You know that. Looking forward to that. Yeah, we'll be out there kicking it with Bo. Maybe we'll do a show or something. Maybe we'll bump the show up a day early and do it Tuesday next week or something instead of Wednesday, so we can get the 3 of our ugly mugs all in one place. Not sure the internet's ready for that, but we're going to find out. We're going to test that infrastructure. So let's just get into some news here. The Chiefs, it seems like as soon as that legal tampering window opened, they were announcing moves, and the Chiefs were like right out of the gate. Signed Juwan Taylor, offensive tackle from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Pretty good contract, not anything earth-shattering or market resetting, anything like that, but still pretty good money. He's a right tackle. That it reports are the Chiefs are think that their coaching staff and he's athletic enough to move over to left tackle. If you remember, that's sort of what happened with Orlando Brown. He was right tackle over there when he was with the Ravens, moved to left. Seems like the Chiefs maybe wanted to move on from him there. I wasn't real familiar with him. I remembered his name from playing the Jaguars a couple times this last year, once in the regular season and then again in the playoffs, obviously. But looked up some of his numbers. Looks like a pretty solid guy. You don't know how the transition to left tackle will go. Definitely grades out better at pass blocking than run blocking at the tackle position. Again, a lot to be seen with switching sides on the line there. Nick, I know you had a chance to look at his numbers a little bit. What do you think? Are you thinking maybe he's another Orlando Brown? You think maybe he could be an upgrade? What do you think?
yeah, it's looking like he could definitely be an upgrade. It's looking like maybe the Chiefs are paying him, hoping he'll – I mean, it kind of reminds me of the Frank Clark signing, where kind of hoping that he'll maybe come more into his own than he has been. I mean, he's getting paid for the right tackle, would be the top paid right tackle in the league, and he really didn't perform at that level. He'd be a top 5 left tackle at that rate. You know, they're paying him right at around $20 million a year, but most of his first year is signing bonus, so it's going to mean that in the years 2 through 5, he's probably making around $25 million in cap room. So I mean, that's a good chunk of change for somebody, right? So you got to hope that he's going to pay off, but they're definitely paying him at the top end of what he's got a good agent. That's all I'm going to say. So,
Yeah.
he's good at finding talent, right? I mean, look at we bring up Frank Clark, but we said we'd make that Frank Clark deal, all over again for what he's done for the team. So I'm excited. I mean, it's good to get that locked up and maybe see what we can add in the draft. What do you think, Bo?
Yeah, man, we talked about it last week. There were kind of two guys we were kind of mentioning on the offensive line. They're just like, hey, if these guys kind of left, it wouldn't be no hair off our backs. And those guys are out. Got two new replacements for those guys. And we were kind of all in agreement that, hey, we get some guys in there that have better numbers. We're just sharpening our edge for our sword, man. And it helps it's going to help the blocking scheme for Mahomes. I think the only numbers I'm aware of is that Taylor was fourth in his position, I believe, according to PFF. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
And then his pass blocking is significantly better than Orlando Brown's was. So looking forward to that move completely, dude. Just adding weapons for Patrick, making him more comfortable back there is notch in my book. Scott?
Yeah, Nick, you mentioned the money being a top 5 number. That's with no other free agents moving around or signing. Some of these other guys might sign big deals, and that could easily all of a sudden become a top 10 left tackle number. So be interesting to see. Good to see our friends here in the chat showing up. Laney, Big Doug, got Chris. Looks like Chris is getting checked out of the urgent care.
Oh, shit. Hope you're all right, man.
Dog. Hope you're okay.
That's dedication. CD. He's checking in from the doctor's office there. So appreciate you coming in. If you haven't clicked like yet, do that. That helps us out a lot. Spread the word. Chiefs also made another move that was announced not too long after the Juwan Taylor. Charles Minihu, I believe is how you say that gentleman's last name. 49ers.
About as good as I can do it.
You look at some of his numbers, also a guy with maybe not a lot of name recognition, not a lot of pop, not a lot of sizzle there with the name, but you look at some of his numbers, pretty good. And he was kind of in a log jam on defensive tackle there in San Francisco with Nick Bosa and some of those other guys they got on that defensive line. Seems like the 49ers got a factory where they make those guys. So looking like that's the replacement for Frank Clark. I put a tweet out on the Chiefs Kingdom Live Twitter account. I said, free agency hasn't even officially started, and they've already replaced Orlando Brown Jr. and Frank Clark. Not letting any grass grow under their feet there in Brett Veach and the front office.
Making moves.
Chiefs. What do you guys think? Bringing in a defensive end, maybe to replace Frank Clark there from the 49ers? Bo?
Yeah, man. Obviously, when he left, we had to get somebody, right? It's one of those things that, like, I wish he was a little bit more of a big name in-house. Like the offensive line, I'm okay with somebody like not knowing their name. You don't want that name group to be called out, but I wish I just knew a little bit more about him. Honestly, I don't know too much about him to be like, yeah, this is a great move for us or not. I really like what our office does, and like you said, the way we recruit talent is it, man, they know how to do it. Put it simply. I've really enjoyed what they do, where we recruit talent from, and the guys that they pick seem to work out really well for our system.
Yeah. Nick?
Yeah, I think that it's good because last year the Chiefs kind of got in that, historic market setting where they didn't lock up Tyreek and it bit them, right? And so I think this year they're like, well, look, we'll set the market, but we're not going to be beholden to somebody else's contract and lose out on guys we're looking at. So I think that maybe this is a little reactionary to what happened with Tyreek Hill last year, but it's good to see them address their areas of need and do it early. So we looks like Chris is in here saying all the good players signing elsewhere. Hopefully we'll get some others to replace them. So we'll get into some of our guys that have signed elsewhere, but I like it. I like being the first people to action. It means that you're getting the first pick of the people that they were looking at. And, it's just like Kadarius Toney. Nobody was really looking at that dude. And he's kind of seemed like maybe he was going to be a bust. And then he was productive in the Super Bowl. So, in Veach we trust until proven otherwise. So
yeah, I want to say Minihu had pretty close to the same amount of sacks that Frank Clark had last year, a lot more pressures, and he didn't play a whole lot. I can't remember if it was PFF or who it was. I saw put out that there was only 5 or 6 players at the defensive end position that had a higher win rate on snaps than Aminihu did. So perhaps he's a guy that, like I said, was just in a log jam, was in a committee there, and wasn't getting an opportunity to be the man. Frank Clark stepping out. We all saw George Karlaftis sort of blossom there towards the end of the year and in the playoffs.
Yeah,
and play really well. Maybe pair him up, put old Furious George on one side and put Charles on the other there. Looking like it could be like kind of a deft move by the Chiefs there. Not, like I said, not a lot of name recognition, not a lot of sizzle, but those are the kind of moves you got to make if you want to stay good with the cap. Chris Jones obviously is going to get a big pay raise coming here with the extension. So we got to keep that in mind with some of the guys we're signing. It'd be nice to go out and get every big name free agent out there at all the positions of need or that you want. Just not realistic. So Chiefs have identified a couple guys that they feel are maybe a little underrated, a little unsung, and they can bring them in and work with them and give them an opportunity, and hopefully they take off. So be interested to see what those guys do there. If John V pops up here in the chat at some point during the show, I'd be interested to ask him. He's the king of Ohio Niners fans.
Right, yeah, he would know.
I know he would know.
Give us a 13-hour dissertation on the play of Aminihu.
Right, yeah. And we could also talk to him about Jimmy G going to the Raiders. So that had to make his day, that old Jimmy G moving to the other side of the bay there. But Chiefs have lost some players, some significant contributors to the Super Bowl team this last year. Probably most notably, and most of you have probably seen by now, Juju Smith-Schuster is on his way out. He's going to the New England Patriots. He got a pretty good deal, not a blockbuster deal, not a break the bank kind of deal. 3 years, $33 million. I think I saw a pretty good number of that though is committed. Like it's almost like guaranteed. So Juju was just shy of 1,000 yards this year. I want to say he had 6 touchdowns, 6 or 7 touchdowns receiving. So I mean, he had a decent year at wide receiver. He had a couple of big games. But he didn't come in and set the offense on fire either. He didn't have a lot of the big plays that you saw him have in his first couple of years there with Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, he was also playing alongside Antonio Brown with AB there, drawing a lot of attention. That took a lot of the shine off bringing Juju into me when we lost Tyreek. I was really excited about seeing what Juju could do, not necessarily having to be the man and drawing all the attention. Yeah. Then they shipped out Tyreek Hill to Miami. Like I said, that kind of lost a little bit of that luster for me. But, Nick, we'll go around here and talk about Juju Smith-Schuster. Do you feel like Chiefs maybe should have kept him at those numbers? You think that's a big loss, not much of a loss? Kind of yet to be determined.
Yeah, I mean, he was a solid contributor. I think that we talked about this last year. The Chiefs are just going to be getting some of these replacement level guys, and they'll look good because they're with Patrick Mahomes, right?
Yeah.
So I think that they'll be able to either find a replacement for him in the draft, find somebody that they can sign at more of a value number that they'll get that same amount of production out of him. So I mean, I'm not saying that the Patriots overpaid for him because he's a good player, but I just think that the Chiefs are in that spot where they have the guy that can in the offensive scheme that can take some of these guys, elevate them, and then what you'll see out of Juju with the Patriots when he's got Mac Jones throwing him the ball isn't going to be what you saw from him this year with Patrick Mahomes. So. Yeah,
completely. Amazing what Patrick Mahomes can do for people, right? Like,
yeah, I know, right?
A retooling year, win a Super Bowl with rookies and stuff. So I'm just going to kind of take over. I kind of feel the exact same way. I mean, like, yeah, he was a great contributor, really consistent, like always there when Mahomes needed him. Didn't really drop too many balls that I'm thinking of, maybe like one or two, but solid all season. But if he was our wide receiver one, I don't think we're taking a step back by any means. History's proven it, right? We took a bigger hit losing Tyreek Hill, and look what we did. I think my sneaky suspicion is that they're making room to pick up a really good weapon. Chris is kind of mentioning it here in the chat. He sees a guy from Minnesota. I kind of mentioned it to you guys in the text. Yeah. There's rumors that we're looking at Adam Thielen. I don't know about that, but regardless, I still think they're making room for a bigger weapon, like a more true wide receiver one role, somebody with that spark. So like, while I hate to see him go, I thought he was great for our team, fit our system well. I'm really curious to see what they're doing. I'm excited. So what about you, Scott? How are you feeling about Juju?
I mean, he had a good year and he was our number one wide receiver. You'd like to see more than 980 yards and 5 or 6 touchdowns though from your number one wide receiver. I think the Chiefs were, excuse me. I think they were expecting a little bit more production out of Juju this year. Didn't necessarily get it. So I just feel like they decided they were going to look elsewhere, let somebody else pay. Yeah. You know, he's gone from when he was with Pittsburgh, I mentioned playing alongside AB, but he had Big Ben like there at the end of his prime too. And then he goes to Patrick Mahomes, obviously in his prime. That's a big drop off at quarterback play, going to Mac Jones. They're in the Patriots. They're a team that they're also a team that, yeah, they're all Mac Jones. There's also the Patriots are a team that they have not been able to really hit on wide receiver in free agency or through the draft since what? Randy Moss? So they're a team that when they pick up a receiver, that kind of makes me think, oh, well, maybe like they're not that good. Like, because they're not really good at identifying wide receiver talent.
He's going to be good.
Definitely happy with what Juju brought to the Chiefs this last season. Like you mentioned, Bo, he was a solid guy, solid possession receiver. I just feel $11 million a year is a little much for a guy that doesn't take the top off the defense. Possession receivers, guys that can, get open and move the chains. He didn't really have a lot of yak this year, which was something that you saw a lot of in his first 2 seasons there in Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. He's also kind of had an injury issue. I know he played in the Super Bowl, but he had the knee problem. Who knows if maybe that factored into the Chiefs' decisions on whether or not to bring him back. They looked at his knee. Obviously, while he was still here and in the playoffs, he was able to be productive in the Super Bowl. But you saw what they can do with modern medicine and these trainers in a short time frame, get something numbed up and get a guy ready for a week. That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be ready to go for the next year or 2 or 3. So Juju moves on. We appreciate everything he did for the team.
Yeah,
he was, he was a solid contributor on a Super Bowl championship roster. Can't complain about that.
Oh
yeah. So I'm not going to wish him too much luck because he's still in the AFC and he's going there to New England. But I know hard feelings. I wish Juju well. Bo, you were getting ready to say something?
Oh, no, you're good. No, we already touched on it. Don't need to beat a dead horse, right? Like, yeah. He was consistently good. So long. Good luck.
What you're saying about receivers going to the Patriots is exactly how I feel every time the Browns get a quarterback. I'm like, oh, shit, I thought that guy was going to be good.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Another player that's headed out, Colin Saunders. He's kind of a revelation player this last year. His first few years, he was kind of in the background. Mm-hmm. But definitely had a resurgent year this year, especially the last half of the year and going into the playoffs and the Super Bowl run. He goes to the Saints. Again, not for a ton of money, but, a pretty good amount of money. He's getting double-digit millions a year, I want to say so in there. And some of that may be incentive-based. Saints, they seem to usually have a pretty good defensive line. So when they pick somebody up on the defensive line, that's kind of the opposite of my Patriots radar. When the Saints go after and get somebody from you, it kind of makes you think, oh, well, they're pretty good at evaluating talent. So maybe there's more there than we thought. Colin Saunders is, I don't want to say he was like a key cog in the defense or anything in the championship run, but solid player. Don't know if you have much to say about him or not. Moving on. Nick?
I'm going to miss him talking shit to fans on Twitter. because he was pretty funny on Twitter.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. So what the Saints in the last couple of years have taken Tyrann Mathieu, they've taken Dan Sorensen,
yeah.
and Colin Saunders now. So
Yeah.
I mean, he's another guy that was solid contributor, right? And I think that people kind of want to get a piece of that winning organization. And so, I mean, I wish him luck, but he's not the key, the cornerstone of our defense like Chris Jones is, or even losing Frank Clark is. So, I wish him luck. He was a solid player, gave it his all. He got a couple of sacks for us in key situations. I think he had a pretty big sack in one of the Denver games this year, towards the end of the game that I went to with my wife. And so, I wish him luck, but I mean, not a huge loss, right? So.
Yeah, I want to say Colin Saunders had the only sack in the Super Bowl. Is that right? Where he
just got
ran
credit
Jalen out of bounds for a 1-yard loss.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, if that's what you call a sack. I mean, sure.
goes in the record book as a
Technically,
sack.
yeah.
Bo, what do you think about Colin
Dude,
Saunders?
you took my stat that I was going to say again, man.
Oh,
Right?
I'm
He's
sorry,
going to be
man.
the only guy credited with a sack in the Super Bowl, but again, didn't really light it up this year. Definitely one of those position groups that we could improve at, right? Like it was an okay run, but man, if we could get somebody just a little faster, a little quicker, that would go down as a sack. But I mean, Jalen Hurts is fast as fuck, so I don't know that anybody really catches him in that position. But yeah, I agree with everything Nick said, man. I don't see it being a loss by any means, like other players we have. Just another spot for us to improve at, as far as I see it, right? The way Spags can get our defense turned around. He can get, dude, what he did with rookies this year was just in phenomenal what he did with rookies. So I mean, if we can bring somebody in with experience or even just get a good rookie in that position, I'm okay.
Yeah, we were talking before we went live here too. Tershawn Wharton, I want to say they extended his deal or signed him to some sort of new deal or an extension. He was hurt last year. He was penciled in to be the starter, and I think they were counting on him being a productive player. So maybe that factors into letting Colin Saunders walk.
Yeah, I feel like our defensive line, we have a lot of depth there, dude. Like there's that Leo Chenal in the wings, right? He played in the Super Bowl too. I mean, there's just a lot of guys on our defensive line, so I could see a couple more guys actually maybe being looked at to get the axe, maybe.
Yeah, and defensive line is also a place where you can usually get a pretty solid player in one of the middle rounds, third, fourth round, something like that in the draft. So there's just, we were talking about this last week, Bo. You were saying, I just wanted to keep the whole Super Bowl team. And we saw that.
Right?
We saw that after Super Bowl 54, the Miami Super Bowl, where we won against the 49ers. They brought 20 of 22 starters back the following year. That, unfortunately,
near worked.
Yeah, that just unfortunately is not really something that you can do. It's not really repeatable, but you got guys on the way out. Did you guys see the Juan Thornhill deal? Is that a for sure deal or?
Yeah, I believe so.
Looks like it.
Yeah, it looks like another player moving on to maybe greener pastures. Juan Thornhill.
Yeah,
looks like I think Bo or Nick
Browns.
thought right before we went live here. Looks like maybe he's going to the Browns. Man, you go from the Super Bowl champion to the Browns. That's
You call the greener pastures. The team's literally the fucking Browns.
Right. Well, I'm being a little sarcastic, but I don't think I laid it on there thick enough. So, Juan Thornhill is another guy that he's drafted a few years ago. He missed quite a bit of time with the injury, and then he admitted himself he had a hard time getting that confidence back 100%, even after he did come back and play. But a guy that made some good plays, but was not somebody who was like a lights out safety. He's a coverage safety. He's a little undersized. Is like a run stuffing, one of those hybrid linebacker safety guys that can come up there and really stick his nose in and stop the run and make a play on, knock a ball carrier down, tackle a running back coming out of the backfield. So I don't know. What do you think about Juan Thornhill going to the Browns, Bo?
Yeah, man, it's like one of those things when you're 14-4, like we were. It's hard to be nitpicky about this shit, but I guess you have to when it's on this level, right? And you go back to like the games where we just didn't perform, and there were some key plays where he was a part of like some wide open touchdowns. You're like, you're supposed to be a veteran. These rookies are looking like they're in better position than you. But then again, my recency bias, right? Like seeing him live at the Super Bowl and watching him cover ground was unreal. Like it really showed me like how fast those guys are. And he was one of the guys specifically. I was just like, wow, that's fast. I've always been a fan of the dude. I thought he was pretty good. Again, one of those position groups where you don't want to hear his name too much other than making spectacular blocks. And that's what I kind of did here, other than the games I kind of mentioned where he was part of the wide open mistakes. But again, I trust Spags with what he's doing. This past year showed me like that he actually does know what he's doing. He's had a couple shaky years, but it just seems like, he starts off kind of shaky, and by the end, our defense is not an issue whatsoever, and we're looking at other things. So, I'm liking the moves they're making so far.
Right. Yeah, Juan Thornhill to me is a guy. He's a good play. He's a good player, but he's not a got to keep cornerstone player like Nick was saying, like a Chris Jones or a L'Jarius Sneed or a Patrick Mahomes type guy. Obviously, where I think you can replace him with a cheaper guy through the draft or with another. You saw that they let Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, go. Brought in Justin Reed in free agency as another guy that most people probably around the league weren't really familiar with his name. Guy came in and played really well. So I feel like he's a good player, but replaceable, kind of along the Colin Saunders kind of that mold. To me, guy that you can live without. You'd like to keep if you can, but if another team is willing to overpay him, let somebody else overpay him and try to find another guy there, younger, cheaper, perhaps a little bit smarter with the salary cap. Am I missing anybody that we've added or that we've lost here? Can you guys think of anybody?
No, not off the top of my head. No.
There's been some other free agent moves around the NFL. Obviously, players signing here and there. There was kind of an interesting trade I'd like to talk about with the Raiders and the Giants. They shipped Darren Waller off to New York. Raiders are a little bit of a transition here with moving on from Derek Carr, trading away Darren Waller. It's kind of funny. It's the Giants basically used the pick that we gave them for Kadarius Toney to
their compensatory pick.
So we bring in Kadarius Toney, and then on the other side of that trade, Darren Waller leaves the division.
What a trade!
It's getting better and better. What do you guys think about the Raiders? What's going on with them? They've signed Jimmy G, which I'll say it. I think Jimmy G is an upgrade, albeit maybe a modest upgrade, but nonetheless, I feel he's an upgrade from Derek Carr. Bo, what do you think about what the Raiders are doing?
Raiders gonna Raider, man. Of course they bring in. So the Jimmy G thing. Yeah, there's a lot of room for like, is he better than Carr? And like, there's certain attributes, yes, certain attributes, no. I'd kind of put him on pace with Carr with just a little bit better accuracy, right? Like, I kind of just feel like plug and play right there. But then to lose, arguably one of their like two best weapons in that whole ordeal it's just classic Raiders. Like, of course, that's what you would do. You wouldn't try to keep all your weapons for a guy to come in. Whether or not they have somebody waiting in the wings that we don't know about is yet to be seen, but I love that move. I think the Raiders just got a little bit worse, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but yeah, I enjoy it. Nick, what are you thinking?
You think the Raiders are doing all this because they're going to draft a quarterback?
Probably.
I mean,
maybe.
I don't think Jimmy G's their long-term franchise quarterback.
I mean,
what were
3 years? We were talking about this before, but what were they thinking? Were they sitting there like, man, we really got to beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs are the standard. And they're like, hey, that guy that's never beat him and also lost to him in the Super Bowl is available. Let's fucking pay him a lot of money, right? I mean, and get rid of Darren Waller. I don't know. It's just kind of an odd deal. And they probably were sitting there also thinking, didn't he used to also date a porn star? We're in Las Vegas. It'll be perfect for him. Like he'll come here, But I mean, I don't know. The Raiders. It just seems like odd moves. I guess if they're going to draft a quarterback, it's a fine move. But I mean, I think that it's all good for the Chiefs and Chiefs Kingdom that the Raiders are making these moves. So,
right. I know you joke about, and it's fun to poke fun and make fun of the Raiders. And Jimmy's never beat the Chiefs and lost to us in a Super Bowl, but he also has a hell of a lot more postseason success than Derek Carr had. So, I don't think that's a long-term move. And you see these 4 and 5 year deals, but then when you look at the way the contract is structured, they can get out of it in like a year, or 2 years. So
Right.
a 5-year deal in the NFL is not a 5-year deal. It's not like baseball where it's 100% guaranteed. And when you sign a guy for 5 years, you're going to pay him for 5 years, and he's going to be on the team for 5 years. Doesn't always work like that. So, I mean, I'm happy to see Darren Waller leave the division. And while I do think Jimmy G is an upgrade over Derek Carr, I don't think it's a massive upgrade. I don't think it makes them all of a sudden a team that the Chiefs have to worry about,
Right.
contend with for the division or anything like that in the conference. So, Raiders going to Raider. The Broncos, we'll talk about them real quick. That just reminded me of a guy that did leave. Fullback.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He's going to the Broncos. The Broncos also have signed the running back from the Cincinnati Bengals, the backup, Samaje Perine.
Look out now.
Look out.
Uh-oh.
The Chiefs killer is one of the Denver Broncos content channels dubbed him on their Twitter account. Although in 5 games or 4 games against the Chiefs, he's got like 100 yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns. So not necessarily the Chiefs killer. Mike Burton leaving, going to the Broncos. I don't. That's also not something that really makes me worry about the Broncos anymore than I was before.
Yeah.
Right. I was really pulling for that guy, man. Like, beginning of the season, it looked like he was like the guy that you could just give the ball to and get a guaranteed yard. I mean, I was getting so frustrated with some of the plays we're calling. Just give it to Burton. He's that guy. And then he just kind of sputtered out. You know what I mean? They tried it a couple times.
Then they gave it to him.
-2. I was like, boy, was I wrong on that one. Foot in mouth. But pulled for the guy. But yeah, I guess another one of those moves where it's just like, yeah, I mean, just kind of dead weight at that point.
A lot of teams don't even carry that position on their roster, right?
Yeah.
Fullback. I mean, it's so. Yeah, I mean, when we could get that 1 yard, like you said, Bo, 4th down, he was money. But then it seemed like the Mike Burton play just like all of a sudden quit working, and everybody knew exactly what we're going to do. So, it's the same deal. It's like he's a lot of these guys. They're just kind of dudes, right? That you can get at replacement level, and so like it's kind of funny to see the Broncos like. We're going to get, their fullback, and then we're going to get the guy that played backup running back against them and had success. And that's going to be what we're going to get. We're going to get this old coach because it worked out for Gruden, right? Like, I mean, I don't know. It's funny. Fuck the Broncos.
Yeah, the Broncos haven't done anything that has me shaking in my boots, worried any more about them than I was last year, which was not at all. Last time I checked, Mike Burton can't play quarterback. So put that old ass Russell Wilson there. They're talking about wanting to trade possibly Jerry Jeudy, which Jerry Jeudy has not been what he thought he was going to be.
I approve that trade. Get him out of there. Get him out of the
Broncos' best receiver still, even though he's been pretty much
right. Get him out of here.
Yeah, pretty much a bust since he got drafted by Alabama. Chargers been pretty quiet. I haven't really seen them making a lot of moves, or I've not heard their name come up at all. So maybe they're licking their wounds, looking at their salary cap after bringing in some of the guys they brought in the last season or two,
right?
And are reevaluating their game plan. But the moves in the division aren't anything that I really feel like changes the Chiefs as the favorite, really threatens them at the top of the division. Be going for their 8th AFC West championship division title in a row.
What? I had to take like a double. I had to think about that twice. Just like, wait a minute.
This is the battle for the most, right? Whichever team wins this year will have won the division the most.
Right. Yep. And tied at the top there with the Broncos, the Raiders, the Chiefs all have 3 Super Bowl trophies now. It's funny. Some Broncos fan was on Twitter he's like, just because you've won a couple Super Bowls in the last few years doesn't erase 50 years of suck. And I was thinking, dude, we got as many Super Bowls as you do.
No, that's exactly what it does. What are you talking about?
Right. Yeah.
That's the cure is winning, right?
Right.
That's the cure.
That's
to
the
something,
Patriots. The
winning.
Patriots were dog shit for like ever.
Right. Yeah. 15 in a row. That's all I got to say to the Broncos fans. If there's any Broncos fans that somehow stumbled across this video, we beat you 15 times in a row. And guess what? It's going to 17 next year. I got
Obama administration.
Right. Right. Unless Mike Burton can learn how to play quarterback and you can get old ass washed Russell Wilson out of there. That's going to be so funny watching Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. Those are two just alpha male. Like
I can already see the meme of Sean Payton's head photoshopped on Melvin Gordon's face, looking over at Russell Wilson, going, "Really, this is my quarterback."
Right. The egos of those two guys and the way Russell played last year. If they do trade away Jerry Jeudy, the Broncos are in rebuild mode. They're not. Let's not get ahead of ourselves and think that they are some team the Chiefs are going to have to worry about next year. So, probably the biggest news, non-Chiefs or AFC West related, Aaron Rodgers was on Pat McAfee talking about he would like to play for the New York Jets this season.
That's so weird.
It's an interesting that's an interesting mindset. Rodgers had said that he was leaning towards retirement before he went on his darkness retreat. And then something happened in the darkness retreat, and you want to play for the Jets. I don't know if that's all that good advertising for the darkness retreat industry that you go and do one of their retreats and do their service, and then you want to play for the Jets. Probably, I don't know, that's really helping your thinking out a lot much. But hey, the Jets were kind of hot there this year early on. They've got some playmakers, a fairly decent defense. They've got Robert Saleh, who's a pretty solid defensive-minded coach from the 49ers there. Got a stud rookie wide receiver, Garrett Wilson. Maybe there's something there. I don't know. What do you guys think of the whole Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay? I mean, Green Bay, in my opinion, has just completely screwed the pooch with Aaron Rodgers. The guy's a 4-time MVP. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and you went to one Super Bowl with the guy in what, 10 years now? 12 years?
More than that. I think it's more than that.
They never. Well, his first year or two, he sat behind Brett Favre, right? So
he's been there 15 years.
I'm just talking about him as your number one guy. They were going out drafting quarterbacks in the first round instead of wide receivers. They never put a solid defense around Rodgers. He gets a lot of crap for being a bad postseason quarterback, but if you look at his points per game scored, it's like up around 30 points per game in the postseason, and his record sucks. Only made it to one Super Bowl. Green Bay totally, in my opinion, just wasted his career. I don't blame him for wanting to go somewhere else. Maybe he sees something in the Jets. What do you guys make of the Aaron Rodgers thing, Bo?
There's clearly been some animosity between him and the front office for some time now, right?
Right.
Ever since drafting Jordan Love, especially, right? He handles it so well. He gets on Pat McAfee and explains his position, and he alludes to a lot of stuff without really saying it. And he did that a lot with the front office and his relationship with the coaches and everything. And then I don't know if you watch the internet, there's like all these clips about him. There's one with it's more of like a parody interview. It's called Sunday Conversation, right? But he's sitting there like, if you could, would you fire your coach? And he's just immediately yes, right? So there's just that. I feel like that's been brewing for a long time. So I'm not too surprised to see him go, but going to the Jets really surprised me. I thought he would go to a much more competitive team with much more weapons. And I know what you're saying. Like the Jets were slightly better than average this past season, but I just don't see them being a contender. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't follow the Jets too much, so I don't know them too well. But I just don't see them drastically improving with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. Nick?
Yeah. it's kind of weird. Aaron Rodgers, like 2 years ago, he was an MVP, but last year he didn't. He looked like maybe he was on the decline. And we've talked about it. When it goes fast for quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah.
Nick, what are your thoughts about Aaron Rodgers wanting to go to the Jets, and what do you think that means for the Jets? He'd be going the division with Josh Allen, right, and the Dolphins. I mean, last year the Dolphins and the Bills had 2 teams in the playoffs. What do you think about Rodgers possibly going to New York?
I mean, I think that they were held back by their quarterback play and their offense last year. They got Sauce Gardner, and their defense was pretty legit. They've got Saleh as a coach, and he came from the 49ers, and so he's kind of brought some of those stout defensive principles with him. I think they have a good coach there. So, I think he'll do well. Anything that can hamper the Bills is good for the Chiefs. Rodgers, it's almost like he's kind of jumped the shark, and I don't know if he's doing it on purpose or not, but it's like, I mean, he's like talking about, oh, well, I was in the dark. I came out of the darkness, and like I was like going in, and I spent a whole day. Like it's so weird, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm just like, I love the human being that Patrick Mahomes is, and how he is just like, yes sir, no sir. I'm respectful, and like I'm happy, and you talked about them wasting his career. What I found was incredible is I think that it was his 503rd touchdown pass that he threw in his career was the first touchdown that went to somebody that was drafted in the first round.
Right.
Can you believe that? He threw 500 touchdowns and none of them were to first round receiver.
Right.
I mean, that's just so that's pretty incredible. Right. So, and then, I watched some of the McAfee stuff. Yeah. And I watched some of the McAfee stuff, and he was like bringing up Clay Matthews and all these guys. And I do believe that there's some legitimacy to that. But I also think that over the last 18 months, he's kind of gotten a little weirder and weirder. And, like he brought a list of people to the Jets, and he was like, here's the people that I want you to target. And they're like, okay, we'll go get them, and like, there's not even a deal done yet.
Who was on that list again?
Randall Cobb was on there, I think. I don't know. There's several players.
Oh, and Lazard, right?
Randall Cobb he's Aaron's guy though. I feel like that was one of the things that really kind of further drove the wedge in the relationship between Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. They let Randall Cobb go. It's kind of in his prime, and he was Aaron's guy, right? And they kind of told Aaron, you just play quarterback, we'll run the team. They weren't drafting, like you said, Nick. They weren't drafting playmakers at wide receiver first round. They're drafting weird quarterbacks and other guys. Now they've had good wide receivers. And
they had Jordy Nelson.
He was not a first round wide receiver, but he was a damn good receiver. They had Greg Jennings. They had Devontae Adams. So guys, they've had good receivers there. It's not like he's been throwing to bus mechanics and plumbers,
right?
Exactly out there. But yeah, it's just a weird thing. And the Mike McCarthy, Bo, you touched on that. I didn't even get to that when I was kind of ranting about how the Packers just completely, they wasted his career, man. Complete inept incompetence from that organization with a player of that. I mean, the guy is one of the all-time greats. I mean, he's got 4 MVPs. Like, who else got 4 MVPs? Peyton Manning?
Montana?
I think Brady only has 3, right?
Yeah.
5.
Right. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, the thing about going to the Jets for me that doesn't make sense is you're getting towards the end of your career. Do you really want to go play in the stacked AFC? You got to go up against Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow and Josh Allen in your division.
Right, dude.
Justin Herbert with the Chargers. Not that Justin Herbert is some future Hall of Fame quarterback. He's never even won a playoff game, but he's still good. AFC is a lot more stacked.
Right.
So,
dude, and we talked about this last season a lot, just how much better football the AFC's been playing than the NFC. And we saw it all season. I mean, the Super Bowl is what it is with 3 points, but like generally the AFC team would thwomp all over an NFC team when they played this year.
Yeah. So, and if you're Aaron Rodgers at this point, and maybe he doesn't care about legacy, maybe that doesn't matter to him. I think it does to these players. The only thing that's going to solidify or make his legacy even better is if he can win another Super Bowl or two. And that's easier to do in the NFC than it is in the AFC. The Vikings got Justin Jefferson. Now, I realize that'd be a trade, and so they're probably not going to do that. But if he refuses to play, you get what you can for him. And if the Vikings are willing to give you a good package, maybe you entertain that. I don't know what they're thinking, but to me, it just seemed like the Seahawks, I want to say, paid Geno Smith a little bit of money, but maybe go there. Pete Carroll's a guy that's shown he can put together a good defense, and you got DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett out there with Kenneth Walker, a good running back. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, if I'm kind of forcing the Packers to trade me to a team, I just don't get the Jets. But
yeah, it is a bit
Either
odd.
it doesn't make
how
any.
how relevant was Russell Wilson coming to the AFC?
Yeah. It's just a strange thought process from Aaron Rodgers. And I'm an Aaron Rodgers fan. I like the guy. I think he's a great player. I think he gets a lot of crap from the media because he doesn't play their games. And how great would it be Aaron Rodgers sparring with the New York media every week? I mean, that'd be more entertaining than the games probably. Could you imagine them going after him? And so, yeah, I don't know. Be interesting to see if he ends up in New York. It's like the whole Deshaun. It reminded me of the Deshaun Watson. I want out of here. The Texans are the worst franchise in the NFL. I want to get out of here. I want to go to a team that's going to give me a chance, and then you go to the Browns. Like, what? But
yeah, that was the best contract ever in the history of the NFL, though, right? So
yeah, he got a fat payday, but say it's about the payday. Then don't say it's about going to Houston. I'm pretty sure has won more playoff games and probably been to the playoffs more in the last 10 or 15 years than the Cleveland Browns have. So I don't know. The Browns, they've got some playmakers, but they're a team to me that they're just perpetually in that rebuild mode. Almost there, not quite there, never probably going to actually get there. Hate to say that if our friend Nick from Locker Room Rant
he knows
is watching, but yeah, he knows.
He's aware. Yeah, well aware.
He's been watching him a lot longer than we have, so he gets it.
They print shirts in Cleveland, the Factory of Sadness, with a picture of their stadium on it. So they know. It's interesting just seeing the teams that are active. And it seems like it's always the same teams that are good, right? Every year in, year out, the ones that are active, making moves early in free agency. And you see these other teams that sit on their thumbs. I know we talked about this a little bit last week, but the Carolina Panthers, they made their trade to the Bears to get that first overall pick.
That was costly for them, huh?
Costly for them, but if you get the next guy, right? If you get the next Patrick Mahomes or next Joe Burrow or something like that, it's worth it, man.
Yeah. Such a crapshoot, though.
It is. It's a crapshoot, but so are the second and third round picks that they gave up to get. I mean, those are more of a crapshoot than they are taking a quarterback there at the top of the draft. You're getting the number one pick. You're getting your guy. So you're not picking 2 or 3 or 4 where you're getting maybe the second or third best quarterback or consensus guy. You're getting the guy. A little bit easier to pick at number 1 than even like 2 or 3. I wonder where they're going to go with that pick. Seems like there's 2 or 3 guys. This Anthony Richardson has really erupted at the combine, the Florida quarterback. He runs like a 4.4 or 4.5 40. He's a big dude.
Damn.
But he's like 230 something. And he's almost like a bigger Cam Newton, like a big, or almost like Josh Allen, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's CJ Stroud is, I think a lot of guys talking about maybe he's like the consensus number 1 guy. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see where they go, but lots of moves being made. Draft coming up here in a few weeks. I'd be interested to know what your all's thoughts are. Chiefs let Orlando Brown go. They let Frank Clark go. It looks like they've kind of filled that spot. I don't know what they're going to do with McCole Hardman. He has not re-signed with the Chiefs or signed elsewhere. Juju is gone. Where do you guys think, with the moves the Chiefs have made in the last week or so, how do you think that impacts how they draft? Do you think that makes them more or less likely to draft at a certain position coming up here in a couple weeks, Nick?
Yeah, I think that receiver just bumped up the list, right? For me. So, they signed a tackle. The Orlando Brown Jr., them re-signing him's not off the table yet. He hasn't signed anywhere else. If he goes and he tests the free agent market and doesn't get what he, substantially more, or it's a little bit more, but it's with a team where he's not going to have the success he can have in Kansas City, he might re-sign with us. So I would say that, yeah, I would be surprised if we don't get a receiver in the early rounds again. So,
Bo?
Yeah, for me, dude, what we were talking about earlier, it seems like they're making moves to get veteran receiver one. Nah, I don't think they're going to go for that position group in the draft, which makes me kind of think that the draft might be more defensive heavy. We've seen it. I don't even know what round do we even have a first round pick this year?
Yep.
We do.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we traded it for some reason.
No.
So then maybe I don't think you go defense first round. I'll take that back. I don't know, man. I haven't really thought about it too much, clearly, but again, the moves that we've been making are leaning the other way. That I don't think we're drafting receiver right away. But then again, I don't know what position group you would want to go for with a first rounder. So,
yeah. First rounders, you kind of get picked over at wide receiver by the time you get. I think the Chiefs pick at 31. I think you normally pick at 32 if you win the Super Bowl, but there was some deal with the way the Seahawks trade went. I want to say that Chiefs. I mean, it's picking. They're in like the last pick or two of the first round. A lot of the top wide receivers are kind of picked over at that point, but the Chiefs have 11 picks.
Yeah, we could package something together.
I'm kind of with Nick here. I think they package maybe some of that up and move up and get a wide receiver because they didn't want to pay Tyreek Hill, so they're going to trade and give a big fat payday to some other wide receiver. I just think these moves they're making and letting Juju walk and possibly letting McCole walk I think they're gearing up to go after a guy in the draft and get a good top-notch wide receiver on a rookie deal for the next 2 or 3 years while you're paying Chris Jones some big money and Patrick's deal is starting to ramp up here into the close to $40 million a year range. So be interesting to see. We got our man John V is in the house. Good to see you, John V.
Yeah, change over my comments.
Jimmy G is gone.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see John V. First, how do you feel now that Jimmy G is gone to the other side of the bay? And two, the defensive end that we got from you all. Charles,
how do you pronounce his last name?
What's the word on him? I bet John V knows quite a bit about that guy and can give us a kind of a scouting report on the defensive lineman Chiefs picked up.
Omenihu? Something
like that.
Is it a good Omenihu for the Chiefs or a bad Omenihu? That's how you kill a podcast right
there. Well, no, I'm just kind of waiting to see what John V's response is here. But I don't know. Anything else going on? You guys seen any other free agents or any big deals with other teams that caught your eye or that you wanted to talk about? Maybe somebody in the chat has someone they got a question about.
Oh, Jacoby Brissett went to the Commanders. Looks like.
It's their turn.
There's somebody else that went to the Commanders that I thought was, oh man, who am I thinking?
Well, I know Tyler.
This just popped up. This says 6 minutes ago, so I feel like that's breaking news.
It is breaking news.
Dude, Jacoby Brissett's like the new Fitzmagic on every team.
I know, right?
Yeah, Tyler Heineke went to the Falcons, which kind of was surprising to some people. I think there were some people thought maybe he was going to be their starter this year with them getting rid of Carson Wentz. But Tyler Heineke, he's not a starting quarterback. It looks like John's got us a report here on O'Menahue. Looks like we've been saying it right. Nailed it, like always.
Nailed it.
Not quite Frank Clark, but not bad and stays healthy. Some of the numbers I saw were better than Frank Clark's numbers, so I don't know. But again, he's kind of was behind Nick Bosa and some of these other guys, defensive end, defensive linemen there. That's always
Yeah, I hope the 49ers aren't passing off more of their injury-prone bullshit on us, John.
Well,
I read a report that he had like some tired legs or something. So that's how that goes.
Yeah. That's where 49ers, ex-49ers go to win Super Bowls. I wonder if what's-his-face, the left tackle for the Niners, regrets his decision to stay with the Niners and not come to the Chiefs last year. Because the Chiefs made him a solid offer, and he declined it to stay there with the 49ers. He's like the consensus number one left tackle in the NFL, and I can't think of his name now. But the Omenihu signing, that's payback for Charvarius Ward, John B. That's what that is, okay? You took one of our guys last year, so now we're going to take one of your guys.
I'm back now.
We're going to trade you a number 55, and he's going to be hurt all the time.
I don't know that he'll be number 55. What number was he in with the 49ers?
Oh, I'm just saying we're going to trade them a number 55.
Could be. I don't know. I'm curious to see where Frank Clark ends up, honestly.
Me too.
Right back home, baby. He's coming back.
You think so?
I'm hoping so. I don't know. Not really leaning that way. Just have a leap of faith, I guess.
Yeah, the second I saw the thank you Frank Clark from the Chiefs, I was like, that's not going to happen. He's not coming back.
I don't know. We do live and die by our decisions, John. That's maybe the deepest comment ever on CKL from our guy John. He's getting philosophical on us, man. He's getting poetic here.
I think I have to go
still a lot to run deep.
Right. Yeah. To pass or not to pass, that is the question, right? That's the Chiefs offense. Every time they run the ball for 2 yards up the middle on first down. Should we have passed or should we have not passed them?
Pass.
I don't. Frank Clark, I just don't know of a team that's really looking for a guy. I don't know that he's going to get the payday that he wants. But I just think the Omenihu signing means they're moving on. I think that was kind of like the final nail in the Frank Clark coffin with the Chiefs.
Right. Did you guys see that Chris Jones tweeted out that he wants to be a Chief for life?
I did.
Yep.
So refreshing to see.
And he didn't say I want to. He says, I will not play for another organization. Now,
He did say, I am a Chief for life. Yeah.
He said, will not play for another team in his career. Payday's coming for that guy.
We all know that Twitter's a binding contract, too. So
yeah, there's been plenty of guys that said, I'm going to play my whole career here. And I'm never, what was it? Nick Saban famously said he was never going to leave LSU. And then a week later, he was doing a press conference that he was going to go to Alabama. So, look, just because someone says something on Twitter, it doesn't mean it's legally binding. But I think Stone Cold, I think CJ is a pretty genuine guy. I think he's a man of his word. So he's a guy you got to get locked up, and they're going to. He's going to get an extension. That's probably going to dictate too. I just feel like that leans towards even more going after wide receiver in the draft. When I kind of think about it, you're going to have to pay him big money. Are you going to have big money to go out and get a guy? There's been a lot of talk about the people wanting the Chiefs to trade for DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know what the chat would think about that. Seems to be people are thinking it's going to cost you a second-round pick, and then his cap number is not exorbitant like the Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams number, but it's also not necessarily cheap. I mean, it's more than the $11 million per year that Juju got. Well, what do you guys think? Would you like to see D-Hop on the Chiefs, Bo?
I mean, if it only costs us a second-round pick, well, why not, right? Like, dude is good. I mean, I know he's on the later end of his career, but doesn't change the fact that that guy's talented and can still moss people at any given moment. I don't think they should try too hard to make that happen, right? Like I don't, even if it's like I'm hesitant towards it. It's I don't know. I'd rather see younger talent, like Big Doug R was saying, some tall guy like Chase coming out of the draft or something like that. That'd be nice to see. Nick?
Yeah, I feel the same way. If you're going to burn capital for 2 or 3 players on a dude, get somebody in the draft in the early to mid first round on a cheap deal for a few years that can grow with Patrick Mahomes and really, stretch the defense. So, John V saying the same right here, right? It's just like we've got 11 picks, right? I mean, just package some of that shit together.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
D-Hop's a little bit more of a proven commodity.
Yeah.
Than a guy in the draft. I mean, you're rolling the dice. Even there's been plenty of guys like Jerry Jeudy, perfect example, guy we were just talking about. He was the consensus number 1 wide receiver in that draft. Can't miss NFL prospect. And panned out.
Yeah, but are you going to be paying D-Hop for what he's done?
Mahomes, I understand that, but
yeah, you know what I mean? Are you going to be paying D-Hop for what he's already done or what he's going to do at that point?
Yeah, that's a good point.
He served suspension last year, but he was still close to 1,000 yards and had, I don't know, I want to say 8 or 9 touchdowns. So, I mean, I don't think he's washed up. He's not 38 years old and
right
at the absolute end of his career. Now he's on the wrong side of 30 for a wide receiver for sure. You get him for 2 years. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's the worst idea ever.
No, it's not terrible. But
I would rather the Chiefs move up and go get one of these top-notch wide receivers, one of these guys in the draft.
But is there I'm not a college guy by any means. Is there a receiver that's potential number one material? I mean, I know we have Tony, but somebody that could truly even outshine Kelsey, because I think that's what we're kind of beating around the bush for, right? Because like I know he's a tight end, but our number 1 receiver is Kelsey, and I think that's what we're like looking for is somebody that's like Tyreek Hill was, right? Like a true WR1.
Yeah, there's been a few guys that have been talked about. Their names are escaping now. I can't think of it. I think there's a guy from Ohio State, John V would know. John V's a Buckeyes guy there in Ohio. And then I want to say there's a guy from Georgia that was ranked pretty high. A lot of people are pretty high on him. So
it's looking like Quentin Johnston. This is just a quick Google here. Jackson Smith. I'm not going to try to pronounce. Jordan Addison.
Yeah,
those are the top 3 that showed up.
Jackson Smith. What's his? Nmije and Njimbe or something like that, right?
Yeah. NJIDBA.
Yeah.
Go for
it. He seems like the guy most people think is like the most can't miss guy or has, and I want to say he plays for Ohio State. Is that the guy from Ohio State, Nick?
Nick's kind of freezing up a little bit, Nick.
Yeah, so I don't know. NFLDraftBuzz.com, shout out, has Quentin Johnson number 1. And then Jackson Smith, however you say that, number 2. Jordan Addison, Jalen Hyatt, Zay Flowers, Marvin Mims Jr. Those are the top 5 or 6 guys. So
Marvin Mims Jr. He's another guy that a lot of people are really high on. So we'll see.
Sorry. So I guess what I'm really trying to say is Hopkins would he be able to come in and outshine Kelsey essentially, or like be more consistent or better than Juju, or is that, do you think that's the draft position?
I think he'd definitely be better than Juju. I think D-Hop.
Okay.
I still think he's got enough left. I mean, he had almost as many yards and had, I want to say, the same amount of touchdowns or maybe even a touchdown more than Juju had. And he missed the first, 7 games, something like that. I want to say we played 9 games. He's had a suspension because he got busted, right, for the PEDs in the offseason. So maybe if someone's got the internet handy there, they can look up D-Hop's stats from last year. But, yeah, he was close to 1,000 yards. and he put up Juju Smith-like numbers and didn't play nearly as many games as Juju did. I just don't want to give up a lot of draft capital. I think a second-round pick to me.
He had. Am I still freezing up, guys? Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
He had 717 yards, 64 receptions.
717.
Yeah,
Yep.
3 touchdowns.
Okay. Well, his numbers weren't quite as good as I thought they were. But I mean, he's only 200 yards behind Juju, and he played in 9 less games, right?
He had Kyler Murray throwing to him.
And had Kyler Murray throwing the ball to him. So I think D-Hop would be an upgrade over Juju. It just depends on what you have to give up to give him. I mean, if they're wanting a second and a third or something crazy like that, then I wouldn't do it. But
yeah.
Do you guys think CEH gets released, or we keep him, or do you think he's a part of one of these bigger trades, like a second round in CEH for maybe a bigger name or something like that? I saw that being thrown around on Twitter. That's why I'm bringing that up, not to just
it
dunk
could be.
on.
I'd like to see CEH trade to somebody else. I mean, anybody that watches this show knows that. Although they don't have McKinnon signed for next year. McKinnon's getting up there in age a little bit, so. The CEH thing is weird. He didn't go to the Super Bowl parade. Like, I don't know what about that, but I don't know if he's being a malcontent or not. I haven't heard enough really to know that's true or not. But yeah, I mean, if someone came to me, if the Cardinals were like, "Hey, we want a second and we want CEH," I'd be like, "Where do we sign?" I mean, I don't know, Nick. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're gonna get a second round pick for him, but yeah, agree. Look, we
give up a second and like Clyde for D-Hop or something like that is what we're.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, definitely give up a
There you go.
What's that, Bo?
I said, there you go.
Sign me up. Just give me in that front office. Brett Beach. As you can see, I'm an unrestricted free agent, as my title says there. So I'm available. And I will definitely not be a cap issue for your team. If you're looking for cheap
league minimum,
I'll play for less than the minimum. I'll play for half the minimum. But anything else you guys want to talk about? Any other players or any other NFL news? Things going around you saw that you want to chat about?
No. I think we've covered most of it. Our quarterback's brother's in the news for some crazy shit, but
yeah, I don't want to talk about that. He's grifting off that Mahomes last name, and like we kind of defended that guy in this show as he's just a young guy and he's out having fun, not hurting nobody. But now it's become an issue that maybe he's stepping over some lines he can step over. So I don't really want to talk about Jackson Mahomes. He is a young guy that probably needs to get some shit together, but yeah. Well, look for us next week, maybe on Tuesday. Although Tuesday, that's John V's night. We might maybe have to do Monday night. We'll do a show Monday with as much signings and as much stuff that's going on right now. Probably have enough material and enough moves and players and action to talk about on a Monday night episode.
Yeah, right.
From Bo's place out there in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm looking forward to getting out there, man. My flight lands around 8:15 p.m. on a Saturday night. Woo! That's perfect time to get out to Vegas. I'll be pumped. I'll make sure to sleep in late on Saturday and take an easy day. Maybe try if I can catch a power nap on the plane on the way out there. So that's one thing I love about Vegas, man. You leave at 7:00 and you get there at 8:00. So.
Oh yeah. And it's a city that never sleeps, man. You get here and then you realize there's no clocks or windows, and it always feels like it's about 7:30 at night. And
I've always said my favorite thing about Las Vegas is there's as much going on at 2 a.m. as there is at 2 p.m. So
sometimes even more, man. There's some clubs here that don't even open up till 3 a.m. So it's a different town than most cities. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah, looking
Well,
forward.
I chose the right place to take my elementary school age daughters on spring break. So,
Oh, man, we'll
Completely. Character growth.
Get them on some roller coasters. Go to Guy Fieri's place. Get some good food. It'll be a good time, man. Hit an In-N-Out Burger while we're there. Not that In-N-Out Burger is, I think it's overrated, but it's still pretty damn good. So,
what's up, Brenda?
No burgers.
Hey, we got Brenda's in the house. Good to see you, Brenda. It's been a while. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you tuning in. Jigba. There we go. John B helping us out with our pronunciations. We're going to have to get him on the payroll.
That might have to be a segment next season, just trying to pronounce players' names we've never heard of. Just throw them up and have all of us throw a pronunciation out.
Right. And as long as John B doesn't mind working for free, we can get him on the payroll here at CKL. But appreciate everybody who jumped in and joined us. They had a lot of interesting moves we've talked about. Chiefs signed a couple guys or watching a couple guys go. Still more moves to be made, and still got the draft here coming up in that's the end of April, right? So we still got about 5 or 6 weeks.
Yep.
We'll try to do a show from the desert out there in Las Vegas with our man Bo. Looking forward to seeing him. If you jumped in there, you haven't hit that like yet. If you haven't subscribed, do that now. We'd appreciate it. Help spread the word. Get that algorithm going, and we're I think we're getting pretty close on the Twitter to the giveaway too. I want to say we're down to we only need 50 or 60 followers. So get that going. Maybe we see what the draft hat looks like coming up here. If we can get by the draft, maybe we'll throw a draft hat or something in that giveaway. If you're not already following us on Twitter, go do that now. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, all the social medias at Chiefs Kingdom Live. Again, appreciate everybody for joining in. It's great to see our guys, Laney, our people, Laney and Big Doug and Chris and Brenda and John B. Hope y'all are doing good. Stay tuned. We're trying to tweet out when news breaks, we fix it, as the old joke goes. So until next week, we'll see y'all then. And let's go Chiefs and get some of these free agents.
Go Chiefs.
Let's go
Chris,
Chiefs.
hope you're feeling well in the ER, man.